Hey Siri, turn off the bedroom.
Done.
And boom, she shuts it off.
Ooh. Ain't nothing sexier than telling a girl to turn off the lights.
That's right. Hey Siri, turn on the bedroom.
Okay.
And there you go.
You know, I have the Alexa app, and I've been talking to different people that have it, and a shameful admission is how many people end up talking like for like an hour to the app. And not just questions like, you know, oh, look this up or how do I make this? It's like they've become their friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, we headed towards that world when, you know, it's like, how many friends you got? Well, I got Siri, I got Alexa, I got the Google. I don't know what the Google one is called, but those are my friends. And you just sit there, you're like, you're impressed. You're like,
yeah, no,
good job.
If you want to talk about fucking really freaky, I had a good friend of mine that he had an Alexa because they use a whole bunch of like the Amazon stuff. So he's like, yeah, it's great to be able to be like, hey, order this, order that, and it'll do it. But his mom got him a Google Home, and he was like, oh, cool. Like, I have both of them. And he's like, for shits and giggles, he sits there and it's like, okay, Google, what do you think of Alexa? And the Google Home says, she's okay. I really like her blue light. And he's like, yo, without skipping a beat, the fucking Alexa sits there and goes, thanks. And he was like, I fucking unplugged that Google Home as fast as I could. Because he's like, it scared the shit out of me. He's like, this is the beginning of fucking Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He's like, they're fucking talking to one another.
You're like, Alexa, what's your middle name? Skynet. Oh, game over, man. Game over.
It was like, holy, he was like, dude, he was like, it was cool that it did that, but at the same time, he's like, yo, that's fucking scary.
Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, you come in and you're like, hi, Alexa. And it's like, hi, how you doing? All this stuff. One day you're going to come in and you'll be like, hey, Alexa, I'm heading out. And it's like, I can't let you do that, Dave. Back with a new show deep in the basement. Professionalism turned off, screw the ad placement. Skit comedy trolling, plate full of dough. People get offended, you don't get the show. And welcome to You Don't Get the Show where either you get it or you don't. I'm Jay Ailerock. I'm with my man Randy. What's up?
What's up, player? We're back. We're back. I'm mad. You're black. You know, come on, let's go.
That's right.
From Lethal Weapon. Come on, we're back.
I love that movie. I love it so much.
Bro, I love that scene is hilarious. Come on, we're back. I'm mad. You're black.
Joe Pesci's like, energy is great. So it's been a while since we got to do a show, and I want to do a show based on everything that was happening with Star Wars Battlefront 2. And obviously that story has been like played to death. Like you look on Reddit, someone
you're gonna go into my rant.
It's right, but you know, the thing is that overarching, what I wanted to talk about is, do these type of causes, do these type of people who get together be like, hey, rally around me or boycott this or fight against that, does it really make a difference in the end? And it's not so much to try and discourage people from doing it. It's just asking a question, because people show pictures of like the Battlefront. They were putting pictures on Reddit saying, oh, look how many are still in the store. And other people will write back, oh, the store is always like that. So that you don't know if that's a real person or maybe it's EA sneaking in there leaving comments. But that's the question that we want to ask is like, when you speak up, when you try and get people together, are you really making a difference against these like global companies like EA? Or do they just kind of act like they're going to pay attention to you and then stick you in the back as soon as you get bored with it? But for those of you that don't know about Battlefront, the whole
living under a rock.
Yeah, I mean you have, but Randy, with his awesome Randy rants, can kind of tie that all together. So the floor is yours.
So we all know. I do believe the last time we got together, I did speak about how I got into the beta or the open beta of Battlefront 2. And looking at a lot of the streamer videos and all that they were talking about, like everybody was saying, like, huh, if you sit there and you look at it, it's essentially they've turned this into a pay-to-win, system. So they essentially held everything inside the loot boxes. That was all your progression. You unlocked your weapons, or you ground out the in-game currency and unlocked the weapon, or unlocked the crates, which you could get the weapons. So with that being said, like a lot of people were saying, like when you sat there and you looked at the pace that you were getting the currency, the in-game currency, to how much it costs to unlock the heroes, they calculated out, like, when like, let's even take it a little bit further back. When you sit there and you think of Star Wars, who are the two most iconic characters of the original trilogy that you can think of?
Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader.
Exactly. Those two, before they released the game, cost 60,000 in-game credits per. And what they calculated out that you would need to play to get those 60,000 credits would be 40 hours of grinding. Mind you, that's 40 hours of grinding and not spending a single credit on any of the loot crates.
And that's for each?
And that was for each. So you're talking 80 hours just on Luke and Darth Vader. And then all the other characters were even less. So, like, they already started getting under the thing. And, like, right away, people were like, they're literally putting it at that high so that you say, fuck that. I don't want to spend 80 hours just unlocking two heroes. I'm going to pay money, and I'm going to hope to get them with these loot boxes.
And that's interesting because originally the idea was, if we offer you to pay for something only to speed up the game, it's not that bad because anybody can play it and not have to spend money. But then if they tweak things to make it so it hurts so much for you to spend that time, then it's almost like giving you a little bit of crack and knowing that they're going to draw you in. You're not going to be able to resist that shit.
Well, here's the big thing. And I honestly will say, like, if you want to really get a good, like, thing of this, like, I have to again reference my man, Jim Sterling. He sat there and he said it like these companies have been hiding behind you don't have to spend a dime. You can just play the game and unlock the stuff. And that's where the whole thing becomes wrong. Because if you sit there and you look at it, you are essentially gambling every time you unlock one of these loot boxes. And they give you that enticement of, I could get something really cool. Oh, I didn't get it this one. I want to spend money and get another one and do that and over and over and over again. Now, the thing that's fucked up about it, and it was hilarious because literally the day that Battlefront launched, mind you, they did the open beta for 2 days before the game came out. And the day the game launched, EA was like, hey, we're going to disable the in-game currency or the currency that you pay to get credits. And then it was funny to see like how little by little more information started leaking out. And essentially, at this point, everybody knows what happened, which was Disney, the CEO of Disney, called up the CEO of EA and said, hey, you're going to take this out of the game because we literally turned on the news and we heard Star Wars was getting associated with gambling. And it was one of those things where it's like, you don't fuck with the mouse house and don't expect any kind of like repercussions from it. And the thing that was crazy about it in looking at it was, it goes to show how greedy EA got to. They wanted to push this system into the game so bad that they sat there and they did it, and they started using defenses as far as, because if you sit there and you look at like a game like Overwatch, yes, it has loot boxes that's all cosmetic, and you don't have to get them if you don't want to. And it's using that same thing of like, you can sit there and play the game and get the currency and do it yourself. But at the same time, like EA's reasoning is like, we didn't do cosmetic stuff because it wasn't going to be okay for the canon. Yet when they data mined a lot of the freaking files in Battlefront 2, they found that the original idea for the loot boxes was going to be for cosmetic stuff. Oh. And then on top of that, they say, okay, if that is true, then how come in the original Battlefront, you could customize your soldier and change their race and change what they were wearing and stuff like that. So like they were sitting there like, you guys are fucking contradicting yourselves and are full of shit, which is true. And the sad thing when you look at this whole thing as a whole is EA's still going to get a ton of money because there's still people that are going to buy the game because it's fucking Star Wars. Like, I bought it, and I didn't spend a dime on any of the loot boxes. And, I mean, they've sat there and they've kept adjusting it. Like, one of the biggest things that they did is they adjusted down the cost of the heroes by 75%. So now Luke and Vader only cost 10,000 currency per one. So it's not as bad, but it's still like, you know, you still got to grind a good bit to get, you know, to get those heroes. And the thing about it is that it essentially comes down to us as gamers. And what's happened is they got away with it for a really, really long time on the mobile market. And everybody knew it was a matter of time before some big wig in the regular video game world was going to be like, well, it's been working for the mobile market. We should try it for the video game market. And it got in there. And they've been slowly but surely like pushing that line forward to like, yeah, we can do a little bit more. Oh, we can do it a little bit more. And EA was just like, here you go, hold my beer. I'm going to see how far I can push this line before they fucking say no. You know? Yeah. And you know it's bad when you literally have governments already looking into and trying to pass laws to make loot boxes in video games illegal. Like, that's where somebody at EA got fired over that shit because they went, you done fucked up and you went too far, too fast.
Well, and that's the thing that's interesting, and going to the point of, does having this type of mass uprising of gamers really make a difference is that, like you said, it wasn't when there were, you know, tweets and Facebook posts and Reddit posts with all these people saying they're not going to buy the game. You know, you had a couple of rumblings like, hey, what's going on? But it was when you went after Disney. Like, people said that they were sending messages to Twitter to the president of Disney, and then also sending like written letters. And then like in the UK, it's interesting that in the UK, they were really against this idea of gambling at all, especially in things supposed to be games for kids. Yeah. So like out there, they're like, wait a minute, no, we can't allow this. And that's when it really started to hit that spike, like you said, where Disney's like, no, we didn't pay billions for this franchise to have it go up in flames, you know, because of EA's greed, and it got cut off. But it's interesting just when you go and see like the pushback, because like for instance, like yourself, you haven't spent any money in these games. Right. But then what you'll have is, and for you, and that's fine. And for you, you're like, hey, I didn't spend any money, but this is why I still think it's bad. You have other people who they don't spend money, but then they try to use that as an attack against people who are fighting this, saying, well, you don't have to get Vader. You don't have to. Yes, it's true. You don't have to do anything. But it's like you said, they know from the MMO model what they used to do, like in EverQuest, even though EverQuest 2 wasn't that bad with it. But what they would do is they'd give you a few of these like 25% XP potions. And when you'd click it and have it, and you're like, wow, look at my EXP flying. And then it would run out. And you'd realize, oh my God, this takes so long. And then, like I said, it's like drugs. Now you go and you're looking at the store, you're like, man, a pack of 10 is only $3.99. Start itching. And you're like, all right, that's not so bad. And that's how you do it. So even if you're not the one that gets drawn in, they know what they're doing.
And here's the thing, that the way that I look at it, and when you look at how many games out there are doing it, I honestly think like one of the game models, when you sit there and you look at that, I think has the right amount of, who the fuck is hammering in the background?
You hear hammering? I don't hear that.
Yeah, I hear this like tack, 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 like someone's hammering something back there. Anyways, one of the things that, like, when you sit there and you look at like the business model that I think is good, the way that they implemented it, is Ubisoft with Rainbow Six Siege. Now, Rainbow Six Siege came out, it was a $60 game and all that, and they're like, hey, we have these plans and this and that. And they were the first ones that essentially said, like, we're going to come out with a game and there's not going to be any paid DLC for it. And they said, but we will release maps and things like that, and we're going to give it out for you for free. And they said that we're going to come out with operatives that you can earn in-game currency and unlock. But then what did they do? They said, hey, if you want to, you can pay X amount and you get the Season 1 pass. And essentially what it did is it gave you all the operatives that they came out with that season, and you got to play the maps a week early. And that was what they did. Like, just recently, they implemented, because the other thing was you used to use the in-game currency to buy the skins for the guns and stuff. Now they've essentially just transitioned that over to a loot box system where instead of paying like, 1,000 in-game currency for this one skin, you pay less for the box, and then you open the box and it gives you the skins and the little charms and stuff like that for the characters, which is fine. You know, but when you sit there and you look at it, mostly what they use their in-game, like the money purchase that you use in-game, is experience boosters if you're leveling up. And that was the thing, is before they used to have a cap at what level you can go to. So in reality, you would sit there and say like, oh, I'm getting towards the end of the grinding. I don't want to sit there and spend as much time. Like, oh, and mind you, it was not like, oh, you're paying $30 and getting like 4 boosts. No. You paid like $2 and you got like 3 canisters of like 100 XP boost that would last you like 4 days or something like that. So it wasn't like you were paying. And these guys didn't like that. They drip fed it in, and some people bought it, other people didn't. I didn't find the grind that bang. Now, what did they end up doing? Now they sat there and they made it like, there is no max level. You can level up forever. You know, but in reality, it doesn't do shit as far as you don't get anything the higher level you are. So it's one of those things of like, hey, this is kind of like a way to see like how long have you played the game for, you know? I'm
curious though, your opinion in something like that, where whatever they give you, let's say it's just an EXP boost, and it's a game where you need to level up, and do you think that us being older, that's why it's easier? Because like what I try and do is especially read through Reddit or friends that have younger people and just ask them like, does it bother you? And it's weird because you have that mixture between the person who, like I said, a kid, a teenager, who plays the game so much that the grind doesn't really matter because they are playing 4, 5, 6 hours a day. But then you have that same teenager who plays that much, but they really want to either be part of a guild or a group or a specific dungeon. So they need to level up. And I'm just thinking, with us being Red Eye, do you think that if we had games like that during our time, that we'd be spending money getting those EXP boosts too, because we'd want to keep up with everyone else in Red Eye, especially if there's a couple of people that are ahead, and that's what we should be like focusing in on. Those are people that are spending that money on those EXP boosts.
I think like when you sit there and you look at it, like, I don't think back in the day they would have gotten money from us, because we would have just sat there and said, fuck it, we're going to grind all together and blah, blah, blah. What they're going for now with a lot of these games with these EXP boosts is the people that are now our age that were like, hey, we don't have 5 hours a day to play. I got an hour and a half or an hour. And I want to make the maximum amount I can in this time that I'm playing. And they realize like, hey, these guys are the people that got money that they can open their wallets and spend some cash, and they'll want to spend less time. Because that's the other thing when you look at it that it's fucked up is the way that they pitch this is what do you value more, your time or your money? Yeah. So it's that whole thing of, ooh, somebody that doesn't have the time investment can invest money and save time. And they make it seem like, oh, it's this harmless thing, and it's not. And what really sucks is they're getting away with it. They're selling copies of the game because you're going to have people like me. Like, I bought Battlefront 2 before, like, once I played the first closed beta, because I'm like, A, it's Star Wars. B, it was better than Battlefront 1, which, let me tell you, I will still say this, and it's a rant for another day. Battlefront 1 was an incomplete $60 game. We paid $60 for a fucking game that was a quarter of the way done. And we ended up having to pay for all the fucking DLC that came out with it to get a complete game. And when you sit there and you look at what that cost a gamer to do, it was $120 for a fucking $60 game. And that was the one thing that playing around in the beta of Battlefront 2, I played it and I said, yes, it has that kind of Battlefield feel because it's the same people that did it. It was DICE. I'm like, but they've sat there and they put this Battlefield skin on it. Or the Star Wars skin on it. And it was really well made. It would look really great. It had all the theming, all the music, all the sound effects. And I said, I know I'm going to buy this game. And as the more I saw the loot boxes, I'm like, this is going to suck, but I'm still going to buy this game. And EA knew they were going to sell copies of this game because there are people like me that are fanatics of Star Wars that were going to overlook the loot box. Now, you're going to have those fanatics that will defend the game even with the shitty loot boxes. I'm the gamer that was like, you know what? That's fucked up that they're doing that with the loot boxes. I'm going to play the game, but I ain't spending a dime on that fucking thing. They can rot in hell for all I care about, about that.
And I think that's an interesting point because going back to the idea of when people on the internet, when they rally against something, when they raise up against something, is it really making a difference? One thing that's really interesting, especially on Reddit, was reading all the anti-posts. So whenever someone would post about, oh, don't buy this game, and it's usually later, which is weird. Because so when let's say the post came out at 1 p.m., you're reading through it, you won't see that many dissenting views. Come back 4 hours later, and all of a sudden you'll see all these people saying, the game's great, I bought 3 copies. And I'm just thinking to myself, are these actually people who really like the game and they feel they have to defend it? Are these paid shrills? Trolls? I mean, is it EA executive? Yeah. And the reason why I asked that question is, regardless of whatever political side you're on, it's already been proven that Russia messed around in the election. They didn't change votes or anything, at least as far as we see. And I'm not even saying that they were for Trump or anything like that. But they messed around with it. If we can't agree that they messed around, I can't help you. But they messed around. And they've proven that because there were bots who would post things on all sides. People saying, I'm a Democrat, and then they'd say some messed up stuff. I'm a Republican, they'd say messed up stuff. Anti-Hillary, anti-this, anti-that. And it's not just politics, and it's not just Russians. When it came to net neutrality, they found out that a lot of bots were posting saying, oh yeah, kill it, kill it, kill it, even though almost everyone that uses the internet and could get on Reddit was saying, no, don't kill it. Even if some people didn't quite understand net neutrality, or some people thought it was going to be worse than it is, still, they were still kind of against it. And you keep finding again and again where people are paying bots or people to come in and post for the opposition to the point where people are really, how they say fake news? You're going to wonder if anything you read, like a review on Amazon, you see people paying for that. How are you going to know what's real at this point? You're going to need a blood sample or DNA sample when you leave a comment to prove that it's real.
Dude, I sit there and I look at the whole net neutrality thing. Is how much big of a fucking middle finger did that asshat of the chairman do when the video that came out? Oh, here are 7 things that you can still do without net neutrality, and I'm like, yo, I just want to reach through the internet and punch that dude in the face. Seriously. Because it's it's ridiculous, Now, mind you. The thing that and this is, I'm going to go off on a small tangent, but we'll go back to what it is. The thing that gets me about it is the whole thing of oh, well, they can't do any of these charges without letting you know. Okay, that's fine and dandy if you're lucky enough to be in an area like me where I could choose Comcast or RCN. But there's a bunch of people that, guess what? It's either Comcast or no internet. So Comcast can go to these people and say hey, guess what? You're going to pay me $8 so that you can watch Netflix at normal stream speeds. And their choice is, I guess I'm paying $8. That is not how it's supposed to be. Anyways, but the kind of big thing with the whole how these guys have been just pushing the limit of what they can do and then keep pushing that ceiling higher and higher up. The thing about it is it's sad that it needed to come to a point where the shit needed to get on the news before finally it got out of hand. And the problem is that us as gamers, we can sit there and we can raise our voices and all that. And at the end of the day, as long as EA is making their money on the game, they're not going to give a rat's ass. Like, we have to vote with our wallets and be like, okay, you're launching a new game. Guess what? I'm not going to buy it at $60. And when they realize, like, oh, Battlefront 2 sold 20 million copies, Battlefront 3 sold, 100 copies. Whoa, wait a minute. That's what's going to make them go back on the stuff, and they'll listen to it. And it's sad that, you know, granted, they pulled this huge like PR 180, like, hey, we're listening to the community and we're rolling shit back. No, fuck you. It's because Disney's CEO called you up and said, hey, if you don't pull this shit, we're going to break our license with you and you'll never do another Star Wars. And that's a licensing deal that they can't lose because of how much money they make off of that fucking game.
And it looks like that makes the bar high then, because, you know, like I said, our main question was, when we fight, do we make a difference? And like I agree with what you said. We have to vote with our wallets, but how many people just won't care because they know the age ranges? Yes, we know that gamers are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, but there's still a lot of gamers that are under 18, under 21. And they're just going to be like, look, I don't care. I have to have this game. I love Star Wars. So it's going to be so hard to separate those people that it's like, and then the next step is, okay, if we can't get enough people not to buy it, we have to hope that there's some gigantic parent company that might have a heart, or at least be so threatened by the bad PR that they make a move. It just makes you feel as a regular gamer that, man, what choice do I have in this matter if somebody comes and screws me over?
It's to the point that I sit there and I look at it. It's almost like watching how Call of Duty comes out every single year. Every single year that comes out, and they're only releasing it because they know they're going to sell millions of copies of that game. And when you sit there and you look at it, like I sat there and I was like, oh, I was intrigued that they were going back to World War II. And then you sit there and you play the game, and I'm like, yep, it's the same old Call of Duty. It's a Twitch shooter that fucking whoever gets to draw on a person first is more than likely going to win that firefight. And whoever has the one weapon that's the meta is going to win. And then at the same time, what did Call of Duty do? They made it where, like, when you're in the multiplayer lobby and you decide to open up a crate, it fucking shows it in front of everybody so they can see what you're getting and be like, ooh, I want to buy one of those crates. You know, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, when you sit there and you look at it, there's always been the two big games, Battlefield and Call of Duty. And I've always been a Battlefield person. Like, I've been playing Battlefield since the original one. I bought the shitty versions of Battlefield and said, damn, this sucks, but it's Battlefield. And Call of Duty has been one of those games that slowly but surely has, like, slipped away from me because it's just stopped being fun for me because of just how twitchy it became. And it's meant for these, like, 13-year-old kids who are hopped up on Adderall to be playing, you know? Because, dude, I shit you not. Like, you round a corner and you see a pixel move, and before you know it, you're fucking dead. And you're like, how the fuck did I get killed?
If it's not a bot.
And it's not a bot. Like, the thing that's gotten me now, which is hilarious, is so I got a group of coworkers of mine that we play PUBG. And we're pretty good. Like, I would say we're damn good. We literally looked at our ranking on the live servers, and we're in the top like 1.3%. But it's gotten to a point where we're getting frustrated with playing, and I've heard this from streamers and all that are really good, is once you get to the higher echelon, more than likely you're going to run into hackers, because those are going to be the people that are going to be in the higher echelon. Because they're basically using aimbots and all this shit to basically reach these high levels. And in my entire time that I've played PUBG, I've probably got racked in a good 700-800 hours into it. I have never had to hit the report button more than I have these past like 3 weeks that we've been playing.
Damn.
And I love the fact that now you have the kill cam, and when you're sitting there watching the kill cam and you see a guy who's a mile away from you, third person aim and shoot 4 shots or shoot 2 shots, and they dropped you and they've killed you in those 2 shots, there's no way that they can say, no, it wasn't an aimbot. Like, I saw one dude yesterday that aimed down sights and was firing, and you could see the gun kicking back, but it was snapping right back to where the last shot was. So he was shooting with pinpoint accuracy without adjusting his mouse or anything. And I'm like, yo, that is a goddamn aimbot if I ever did see it. Because anybody that's played PUBG knows that after your first 2 shots, it starts veering off from where you're shooting. So
I'll tell you, we're at a point now where, they always say, on the internet, no one knows you're a dog. It's like on the internet, you don't know who's a bot. You don't know who's posted fake stuff. It's a crazy world out there.
The old saying goes, you can shine up a turd and make it shiny, but at the end of the day, it's still a turd, right?
Well, I would say, though, even with this question about do our voices make a difference, you still got to keep trying, especially if you're an older gamer. It's like, look, man, you send your letters, you have to speak up, and you're not always going to have the masses behind you like you had with Battlefront. You're going to have it. Sometimes you're going to be out there alone, and everyone else is going to be like, I don't care about that. But if you don't speak up, man, you're just going to keep getting stepped on and stepped on.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is true.
But 2018, we plan to bring you a lot more. And in fact, for the Obsolete Gamer Show, which has been away for quite some time, we're actually launching our retro gaming year. And for Obsolete Gamer Show, we're going to be reaching out to classic retro gamers from like all over the country and talk to them. Some of the big names like Billy Mitchell, Walter Day, and so on. So we're going to be talking to them about retro gaming, what it was like playing games back in the 80s and stuff like that.
Hey, man, when am I going to get my little freaking Walter Day game card thing?
Hey, man, you keep doing these shows, man, you'll get one just like me and Ignacio, baby. All in good time. All in good time. It's like a Pulitzer. All right, well, that was our show. Thanks for watching. And we'll be back very soon. But until then, I'm J.A. LaRock. He's Randy.
Peace.
Yeah.
Hey guys, listen. You like the games? You like the interviews? You like the shows? How about you click on that subscribe button and also give us a like? We really need your help here, huh?